That's why I keep it blocked. Oh, sorry. Talking about my check card. I keep it blocked, keep it turned off so people can't accidentally or purposely take from it. It's a good device. Good morning, evening, good afternoon, good night, whenever you are in this world. Happy. Well, if you're in another part of the world, then you might be happy Thursday already. Happy Tuesday, happy Wednesday, happy Thursday. God bless you all. Thank you for being with us tonight. This is Daniel Taylor, Senior at Home Church. We are so happy to be here. And we're getting to read 1 Samuel chapter 15 and 16. I need all you boys to sit down. It's Bible time. Samuel also said to Saul, "The Lord sent me to anoint you king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore heed the voice of the words of the Lord. Thus says the Lord of hosts, I will punish Amalek for what he did to Israel. Now he ambushed him on the way when he came to Egypt. Now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have done, and do not spare them. Kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, ox and sheep, camel and donkey." When God tells you to utterly destroy something, he wants you to utterly destroy it. So Saul gathered the people and numbered them, Telana, and Telan. Oh, Lord, help me again. Telaim, thank you. 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to the city of Amalek and laid in wait in the valley. Then Saul said to the Kenites, "Go, depart, get down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you show kindness to all the children of Israel when they came out of Egypt." So the Kenites depart from among the Amalekites, and Saul attacked the Amalekites from Havilah all the way to Shur, from the east, which is in the east of Egypt. He also took, Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the fatlings, the lambs, and all that was good, and were unwilling to utterly destroy them. But everything despised and worthless they utterly destroyed. And he told them to take all and utterly destroy everything. But as they're fighting, they're saying, those sheep look pretty good. We should keep those sheep. We're not going to destroy them. We're going to keep them. And because of this, let's see what happens. Something when you disobey God, even today, when we disobey God, things, well, that's probably why I'm living in this neighborhood with drug dealers and drug addicts and people who like to steal their neighbors after befriending them. That might be why I'm having the punishment right now. And I'm not saying that God punishes me. I'm just saying God will allow things to come your way when you think it's from the devil. It might be from him allowing it. And remember, it rains on the just and the unjust. It's not just. He doesn't just go after one person or another and let. Like today, it rained. I have a little pond in front of my house right now. If the heat of the day didn't take that pond away, we could probably see some plankton, or not plankton, but little polywogs and tadpoles growing there within the next couple of weeks. If it would just stay there, it's not going to stay there. But we've had it there long enough a couple times in this little area to where frogs were being born in there. Were growing. They didn't survive because the water receded enough for them not to survive. And the birds came and ate them. But anyways, if I'm considered a just man by anybody or by God himself, he let it rain and flood my front yard. And he also did it to my sinful neighbors next door, which I have spoken to and preached to, and almost till you're blue in the face. And if it's not getting to them, it's not your fault. It is them not receiving. And as Jesus said, they don't receive you, they don't receive me. If they don't receive me, they don't receive the one who sent me. So let's continue. Now the word of the Lord came to Samuel saying, I greatly regret that I have sent up Saul as king, for he has turned back from following me and not performed my commandments. This was like the last straw. He gave him a commandment, Saul did the opposite or did something wrong. He gave him a commandment, he didn't do it right. And then this time he gave him a commandment to destroy everything, including all the animals. It may have been a test because he knew he had some good fat animals there. Good for food, good for working, good for whatever. And he wanted to test Samuel. This might have been like the last test. Like my neighbor said when he was in jail, this is your last chance. That he felt that God was telling him it was his last chance. And he has failed. Hence the reason why he's set up for prison for at least 10 years. It was 8. They changed it to 10. They might change it again to 15. Unless he turns state evidence. I told him he needs to turn state evidence against every person here so the Mobile police can get every single one. He knows all these people. Lord, forgive me for getting out of context. I'm sorry. You all forgive me too. Sometimes things pop. Sometimes they don't. I greatly regret. Remember, he said it saddened him, not regretted. But sadness and regret becomes sadness, and sadness and vice versa. He was regretting it. He was saddened by the fact that he created man in the first place, and except for the righteousness of Noah and possibly his wife being righteous under him, since the woman is supposed to be under the man. And if that makes any woman upset, well, you better just read your word. Just better read your Bible. That's why wives of pastors, you're not supposed to go above your husband. That's why wives of pastors, you're not supposed to go above your husbands and speak against things or say things or do things. We read this in the New Testament even. That, I don't know why I'm getting off the subject. I don't know why this is coming to me to say this. That you are supposed to be covered. We read that. Women's 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. I think in Corinthians and in Galatians he says it. I think he says it again in Hebrews, and I know he says something about it. I believe he says something about it in Timothy. Anyways, I had a bad rest last night. Oh, excuse me. I should have just got up and started praying. Sometimes that's what you're supposed to do. It's like when Saul heard God say his name. He said, "Here I am." Not Saul, Samuel. So let's see. It grieved Samuel, and he cried out to the Lord all night. See, that's what was happening to me. I should have been crying out to the Lord all night. So when Samuel rose early in the morning to meet Saul, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul went to Carmel and indeed he set up a monument for himself. Okay, so first he just disobeyed God. He probably killed all the people, but he didn't kill all the animals. He kept some of them. The ones that looked good and looked the best. Then he goes and sets himself out a monument. This is like making a statue. You know, we had a bunch of people throwing down statues, painting over them, flipping them off, like the person can see them doing that. And some of these statues were people who helped free slaves, and the people were destroying them, saying you were racist. How is a person freeing slavery races. That doesn't make sense to me. There's a lot of not going to understand them tearing down Columbus statue. Columbus never once set foot on America. Columbus was a murderer, and also some historians believe he was a rapist as well. He never knew that he discovered the Earth was round. He still died thinking he hadn't figured it out. All he found was a place he thought was the West Indies, which it wasn't. And he murdered and killed and pillaged many people there. That was against Queen Isabel's command. So why do we celebrate Columbus Day? And I don't know why that got picked on me too. I think God's just letting me speak things today. Someone needs to hear it. So he created his own statue or a monument and has gone on around, passing by, and gone down to Gilgal. Then Samuel went to Saul, and Saul said to him, "Blessed are you of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord." "No, you didn't." Samuel said, "What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears?" Turn that down. "And the lowly of the oxen which I hear." In other words, he can hear the sheep's Whoa. The sheep? I hear sheep. I hear oxen. Well, the ox don't really sound like they have a different kind of sound similar to a cow. It's a long time since I actually heard one, so I don't remember. And Saul said they have brought them from the Amalekites. For the people spared the best of the sheep and the oxen to sacrifice to the Lord God, and the rest we have utterly destroyed. Samuel said to Saul, "Be quiet. Shut your mouth, boy. And I will tell you what the Lord said to me last night." And he said, "Speak on. I'm the king. I'm the king. Speak on." You like the way I do that? It's a good way to tell a story, man. So Samuel said, "When you were little in your own eyes, were you not head of the tribes of Israel? And did not the Lord anoint you king over Israel? And the Lord sent you on a mission and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners." Today, God wouldn't say destroy the sinners, but I saw an episode of Little House on the Prairie today because I like watching it every once in a while. After I get frustrated doing too much schoolwork, my brain starts going, and I got to stop and relax, and I watched it. And there was these three brothers, two older ones that were probably in their 30s, and they had a younger teenage brother. They were bad dudes picking on the townspeople. And the pastor preached one Sunday. Reverend Alden said, "Turn the other cheek." That's how he talked. Because he was trying to teach the congregation that these bad dudes, you can help them. And he was trying to do things. Well, they finally found out some stuff. And he came and said, "It's time to get the sin out of the church and out of the town." And he grabbed the oldest of the brothers and pushed him up against the wall. This is the pastor doing this. This is Reverend Alden. And then the other guy gets up, the other brother gets up, get ready to try to grab the reverend inside the church. And good old Dan Tucker, Mr. Edwards, he's always singing, "Old Dan Tucker was a mean old man." He grabs the other brother and they push him up against all the other men at the church. And they hauled him out of town because he said he had to get sin out of the camp. And today, there's sin in the camp that we need to get out. We must utterly destroy the sin that's in camp today. Now, that doesn't mean we go and stone all the sinners in our church. No, first we give them the option of being saved and sinning no more. For Jesus came and died for our sins. He is the author of this, not us. But I had a pastor recently, not recently, it's been about 4 or 5 months ago. I heard him say this. He said, He was told by God. He didn't know what to do with this man. He was told by God to kick him out. And he heard him to do it because he wanted to get this guy to come into salvation. Eventually, from my understanding, he did come back to the mission, the place that he was going to, and he did receive Jesus. Sometimes you got to kick sin out of your church, even if it's your own leadership, in order to get it out so God can move in your church. Now, that doesn't mean that the sin that you're kicking out is not going to come back saved. Because then you go after them. You kick them out, then because that's what this pastor did. He would send him words and messages. And I don't know how he did it, but eventually the guy came back and became saved. But this sin, God knew he must destroy physically as well spiritually. Go utterly destroy the sinners. Oh Lord, I wish these people had better names. Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Lord? And the voice of the Lord today says the same thing. Aren't you not obeying me? Why are you not obeying me when I told you to get sin out of the camp? When I told you to get sin out of the church? You preach them outside of church. The church, my camp, is for the sinless. I know a church that says no perfect people allowed. And the problem is we're not perfect, but we're supposed to be sinless. And when you talk about that, this no perfect people thing is telling you could live in sin and come in our church and be sinful. That's the way I see it. And that's the way God sees it too. That came from him, not me. Why did you swoop down on the spoil and do evil in the sight of the Lord? In other words, you took what he told you to get rid of. Because the sin was so bad that the animals had sin on them. And Saul said to Samuel, but I have obeyed the voice of the Lord. I have gone on the mission on which the Lord sent me and brought back Agag, king of the Amalek. I utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took the plunder, sheep and oxen, the best things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice to the Lord your God in Gilgal. So Samuel said, has the Lord as great delight in the burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed than the fats of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness, Zachary, is an iniquity and idolatry. I say that Zachary's only 3, so he doesn't know what stubbornness is, but he does have that in potty training. Everything, he knows how to count to 10 already. He actually gets almost to 12. And he knows some of his alphabet already. He's just barely 3. But when it comes to potty training, he's very stubborn. But that's okay. He's learning. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord. He also has rejected you from being king. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and your words, because I fear the people and obey their voice. Dude, you're the king. They're supposed to obey your voice. They're supposed to fear you. Now, therefore, please pardon my sin and return with me that I may worship the Lord. But Samuel said to Saul, I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you from being king over Israel. When you reject his word, who's his word? Jesus became flesh. The word became flesh. When you reject his word, he will reject you. Don't reject the word. Know the word is to know the word. And to have fullness of the word is by getting into the word. I knew that was going to come up today. And as Samuel turned around to go away, Saul seized the edge of his robe and tore it. So Samuel said to him, the Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today and has given it to your neighbor of yours, who is better than you. And also the strength of Israel will not lie or relent. For he is not a man, for he is not a man that he should relent. Then he said, I have sinned, yet honor me now, please, before the elders of my people and before Israel, and return with me that I may worship the Lord your God. He didn't say the Lord our God. He said the Lord your God. There's another problem right there. He's saying the Lord your God, knowing that he's the minister, instead of saying the Lord our God, knowing that he's the king with the minister. So Samuel turned back after Saul, and Saul worshiped the Lord. And Samuel said, bring Agag, king of the Amalekites, here to me. So Agag came to him cautiously. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. But Samuel said, as your sword has made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women. And Samuel hacked Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal. See, the reason it said is Agag was a person who would take a sword and cut into the woman's area, or you use a knife or something. I forgot. There's a historical piece in there, and I think we see it in other parts of the Bible, like in Kings and Chronicles. I can't remember exactly where. I can't remember where I read it, but he would make women unable to have children. So then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to the house of Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel went no more to see Saul until the day of his death. Nevertheless, Samuel mourned for Saul, and the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. Don't let the Lord regret that he allowed you to be pastor of a church or a minister for missions. I hope I don't falter and fall into sin, especially the sins I had done in my past that are now forgiven. I need to go and sin no more, because we all. Chapter 16. I was looking for my cup. Give me a drink of something to drink, Chris. Cold water. Now the Lord said to Samuel, how long will you mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? I kind of depict this like, listen, Sam, stop mourning for him. He's no longer king. I got a better one. Fill your horn with oil and go. I am sending you to Jesse, Bethlehemite, for I have provided myself a king among his sons. Thanks. This is flavored water. Makes it good. Purple. I think it's not grape. I hope it's not that one with the vitamin B in it. Then I'll be up all night. Well, that's good. If I'm up all night, I can pray. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul hears it, he will kill me. But the Lord said, take a heifer with you and say, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Then invite Jesse to sacrifice, and I will show you what you should do. You shall anoint for me the one I name to you. So Samuel did the Lord said and went to Bethlehem. And the elder of the town trembled at his coming and said, do you come peacefully? And they knew Saul. They knew Samuel was to God, literally. and he was the head priest. He was the man of God. And he said, peacefully, I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Sanctify yourself and come with me to the sacrifice. Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. So it was when they came, he looked at Eliab and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or his physical stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord does not see as man sees, for man looks in the outward appearance, as we still do today. And that's why so many times we have certain people in the church that have power in things that they shouldn't have, because we look at what we like and not what we are supposed to. Because but the Lord looks at the heart. Verse 8. And so, that's actually the last part, but God looks at the heart, the end of verse 7. Verse 8. So Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel. And he said, neither has the Lord chosen this one. And Jesse made Shammah pass by. And he said, neither has the Lord chosen this one. Thus Jesse had 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. And here, this proves my point about how many people left Egypt. This man had 7 sons. That's not all his sons. He actually had more than just the 7 sons. I forgot about David. That makes 8 sons. This is just the 7 that he had brought up. So if Jesse was one who came out of Egypt and his wife, and he had 7 sons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus 1, 2, 9 plus his other sons. So he had 10 people in his family. You think about that. And we said 1.2 million, because every man, 600,000, some odd number of men, every man had a wife, 600,000. Any of them that multiplied that, that's a lot. That's well over 5, 6, 7 million people came out. Just going way back into Exodus now. Thus Jesse had 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. But Samuel said to Jesse, the Lord has not chosen these. And Samuel said to Jesse, are all the young men here? Then he said, there remains not yet the youngest, and there he is, keeping the sheep. And Samuel said to Jesse, send and bring him, for we will not sit down till he comes here. So he sent and brought him in. Now he was a Ruddy, Ruddy, R-U-D-D-Y. Ruddy, that'd be Ruddy. Is that Ruddy? With bright eyes. Well, it's not Ruby because it's B. This is B. This is D, right? Yeah. Rudy. I hate lowercase letters. Someone's dog barking. What does Rudy mean? I'm trying to look it up. Rudy. Rudy. Ruddy. Still don't know what that means. Oh, ruddy means of a person's face having healthy red color. A cheerful, pipe-smoking man of complexion. So he was reddish face. Probably because he's out in the sun. I mean, he was a sheep herder. I forgot where with bright eyes, I'm assuming blue, because blue eyes seem to be the brightest, and good looking. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is the one. And Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the midst of his brothers. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel arose and went to Ramah. And that was part of the end of it at the time, because he was young. Young teen, maybe mid-teen at the time. I think he's like 16 when he goes against David. So he's probably about 13, maybe 12 or 13 at the time. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and distressing spirit from the Lord troubled him. And Saul's servant said to him, surely a distressing spirit of God is troubling you. They could tell something was wrong. Let our master now command your servants who are before you to seek out a man who is a skillful player of the harp, and it shall be that he will play it with his hand when the distressing spirit is upon you, and you shall be well. So in other words, music to calm the savage beast. Y'all know the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, and he had a harp that would play for him to calm him down and help him sleep. Well, this is kind of what this guy's doing here. So Saul said to his servant, find me now a man who can play well and bring him to me. He probably said it like that, in that way too. Then one of the servants answered and said, look, I have seen the son of Jesse, Bethlehemite, who is skillful in playing, a mighty man of valor, a man of war, prudent in speech, and a handsome person, and the Lord is with him. Therefore Saul sent the messenger to Jesse and said, send me your son David, who is with the sheep. And Jesse took a donkey loaded with bread, a skin of wine, a young goat, and sent them by his son David to Saul. And Saul had no clue that he was calling the person who was going to take over. So David came to Saul and stood before him, and he loved him greatly and became his armor bearer. Then Saul sent to Jesse, saying, please let David stand before me, for he has found favor in my sight. And so it was, whenever the Spirit from God was upon Saul, that David would take the harp and play it in his hand. Then Saul would become refreshed and well, and this distressing spirit would depart from him. Now, the reason I use that metaphor about the giant and David playing the harp and the harp playing for the giant is because they remember Saul was said to be one of the was said to be the tallest, like well above, like when I described it, his head, their head would come to his shoulders. So he was a tall man. So that's why I'm saying like the Jack and the Beanstalk, because in Jack and the Beanstalk, the harp, well, in the Jack and the Beanstalk, I remember the harp would calm him down enough that way he wouldn't be so angry and he would fall asleep. And you see that in a lot of the depictions. I never read the book. I don't know if I remember. I don't remember if I read the book or not. I might have. It's been so long. But anyways, that's what David's harp was doing. And little did he know, Saul had no clue at the time that Samuel had just anointed him to be the new king. Oh, Benjamin, DC. Tomorrow you got to pay attention really good, because one of the best stories between good and evil, and between the underdog and the mightiest of all, is going to come up. David and Goliath. It's tomorrow night. Always loved that story, even as a little kid, even today as an adult. Ooh, that's a long chapter. Are we supposed to do 18 by itself, 17 by itself tomorrow? How long is 20? Wait, wrong verse. How long is 18? I might have to just do 17 by itself. It's really long. We'll see how much time we have. Bless you, everybody. Like, share, subscribe. And the person who gave me the information of how to get this sent out there to more people, thank you for that again. I couldn't find your comment and open it back up because it had disappeared. I don't know why, if you took it off or if YouTube took it off. I don't know that YouTube does that. I know Facebook does. They take everything off. They even have true facts that they said, oh, fact checker, it's not real. And 99.9% of the time, it is real. They just don't want it because it's life-wing liberal bullcrap. Oh Lord, did I say that out loud? Yes, I did. I don't have fear of left or right wing for that matter, because I fear the Lord, and only the Lord can tell me what to do, not the government in Washington, not the government in Montgomery, not the government in Mobile, not the government. Well, we don't have a government in Theodore. It's part of Mobile. Thank you for everything you've heard, and I just thank God that He's utilizing this ministry to reach out as many people that He can. God bless y'all. We'll see you next time.